Hey guys, Abel here, back with another video, and in today's video I am really excited to show you how you can use one of my personal favorite exercises, the weighted push-up, not just as a rehab exercise or something that you would do at the end of your workout for some high rep pump work, but also as a potentially primary exercise for long-term progressive overload to build up the chesticles that you probably want to build up. Now, obviously, when you want to train your chest, the typical exercises will come to mind first, such as your bench presses and dumbbell bench presses of various kinds on the flat and incline, and certainly these are amazing hard hitters for the chest. But every once in a while, the wear and tear might be showing up in your shoulders from all this heavy pressing, and in these instances, a close kinetic chain exercise where your shoulder blades can move freely, such as the push-up, can be an absolute godsend to keep training the muscles that you want to hit without keeping on aggravating the joints that might be hurting a little bit. Now, an immediate objection that will come to mind for anybody who is serious about training is that the exercise will simply become too easy really quickly. After all, probably most of you have been able to bang out sets of 20 or even 30, 40 bodyweight push-ups, even back in high school or even elementary school. An easy and practical way of making the movement more difficult is by doing them on your knuckles as opposed to on your palms. This will make the movement more difficult due to the increased range of motion, and you will also be able to produce more force, since this way you're able to apply all the pushing power into the object you're pushing against, in this case the ground, directly, as opposed to having a gap in the chain because of your bent wrist. And as a bonus, the movement is also going to be easier on your wrist in the long term. You can also do a decline variation to make the movement more difficult, which will help you turn the movement more so into a flat press as opposed to an incline press, thus making it more challenging. Just make sure to hold on to something when doing this to avoid your head being awkwardly in the way when doing it on the floor. Now, obviously, you're going to get to a point where simply tweaking your body's biomechanics is no longer going to be a sufficient stimulus to elicit progressive overload. And at that point, obviously, you do need to look for external means to keep facilitating that progressive overload. One straightforward way of accomplishing this is to load the movement from the top by putting some weight, like a weight plate, on your back. You can arrange all of this for yourself. The only downside is that there is only so many plates you can pack on your back before you start running into balancing issues, which can, of course, make for some awkward situations midway through the set. You can get around this by putting the weights into a backpack, which then you can mount on yourself tightly, in which case you can load quite a bit of weight on your back. Just be prepared to getting some strange looks in the gym and having to explain that you're not planning on stealing their expensive equipment. By far the best option here though is a workout partner who can simply put the plates on your back. And since not all of us have access to a cool workout partner, you may have to ask for assistance in the gym. Just make sure that when you do this, you're not picking the wrong guy. Bands can also be a valid overloading tool, and you can use it on all kinds of variations. The only thing to watch out for is to find a stable setup when you drape them across your back. Otherwise, the bands could be slipping across your arms, making the resistance variable throughout the movement, and the whole movement just annoying. To avoid this, place the bands under your armpits, or in a split setup where half of the band is under, while the other half is over your arms. Using chains is also great as an overloading tool, and similarly to the bands, they serve as a form of what's called accommodating resistance, increasing the tension near the top of the movement where you're the strongest during pressing movements, and decreasing it at the bottom where you're the weakest. A chin-up belt can also work well for loading, and this is perhaps my personal favorite method, since you can use this in virtually any gym. All you need for it is a chin-up belt, weight to hang off of it, and two platforms between which you can elevate yourself. And unlike in the case of the bands and chains, you can be quite meticulous with how you're micro-loading it, and its absolute loading potential is also very high. If you have the luxury to have access to a belt squat platform, it's hard to beat that in terms of convenience, micro loadability, and absolute loadability. And since the platform is so stable, you can completely standardize the movement and progress on it for months or even years. A less convenient but actually quite viable option is a Smith machine. And if you manage to get under the bar, which is not that difficult, you can actually load yourself with it quite effectively. The only downside is that you'll have to deal with some looks and giggles in the gym when setting up the movement, in which case I recommend reading some relevant literature, such as The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I prefer to do weighted push-ups, oddly enough pretty heavy, in the 6 to 8 rep range, which may not sound intuitive if you are new to the movement, but since it's quite a full body movement, high reps can feel like doing cardio instead of strength training. In case you're curious how the push-up converts into traditional big hitters like the bench press, the actual resistance lifted with a push-up, according to directories like exrx.com, is 70 to 75% of your body weight plus the added load. Check the calculator linked in the description to make some calculations for yourself if you'd like. I think push-ups can and perhaps even should have a place in most people's regular upper body routines, considering how effective and how safe they are. But depending on your situation, it can even serve as your primary chest exercise, which is highlighted by the fact that a 2015 paper found weighted push-ups to be equally effective size and strength builders as the bench press. In conclusion though, I hope I managed to give you a pitch to include weighted push-ups in your routines, and with this video, you got some nice ideas as to how you can progress with them in the long term. Alright guys, I hope you found this video helpful and you enjoyed this, and if you did, consider subscribing to the channel for more content like this. I plan on upping the quality of my production a little bit like I did in this video, so if you're looking forward to tutorials and more informative videos such as this one, then definitely hit that subscribe button and you will be up to date for anything that may be coming in the future, whether it's a video on nutrition or training or some of my long-form interviews with some of the smartest people in the fitness industry such as Eric Helms or Mike Israetel or what have you. You know who these guys are, hopefully. So yeah guys, that's all I had to say, and with that, let's watch some bloopers at the very end of this video.